Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something incredibly special. It's called Emma, the Strength of a Sister's Love. We often look at massive, broad societal trends here, but today, we're zooming way in. We're going to explore a deeply human case study of resilience to see exactly how one person navigated a profound family crisis. Okay, let's dive into this. What does it actually take to hold a family together when absolutely everything falls apart? When the foundation literally cracks, our natural human instinct is just panic. Today, we're going to see how one young woman answered this exact question and managed to pull her entire family back from the brink. We begin with Part 1, the Winter of Adversity. To really grasp the scale of what happened to this close-knit family, we need to set the scene in their small American town during a sudden, completely devastating winter crisis. Take a look at the contrast here. On the left, you've got their baseline, a highly stable, loving environment. But then, on the right, the crisis strikes out of nowhere. The father abruptly loses his job, and the bills immediately start piling up. The source material notes that a heavy, suffocating blanket of worry and hopelessness descended on the home. It was a terrifying psychological shift for all of them. Section 2 is the anatomy of resilience. Because really, how do you respond to an environment saturated in that much worry? Let's break down exactly how Emma actively pushed back against this wave of despair. 19. Honestly, this just blows my mind. Emma was only 19 years old when she made the unilateral decision to shoulder the entire burden of her family's survival. Think about that. At an age where most people are focused on college exams or their social lives, she looked at a family in absolute freefall and simply chose to carry the weight. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the incredible dynamic tension here. On one side, we see the family's completely understandable despair. They are struggling. But in stunning contrast, on the other side, Emma isn't just working, she is smiling. She's tutoring and working without a single complaint. She consciously chose bright defiance over internal panic. To really appreciate that defiance, just look at her relentless schedule. First, college studies. Then a part-time job, then evening tutoring, and finally coming home to take care of her family. Boom, boom, boom. She stacked these massive responsibilities one right on top of the other, totally compartmentalizing her tasks, leaving her brother watching her in utter amazement. And yet, right in the middle of all that grueling exhaustion, she offered this profoundly simple perspective. Hard times don't last forever. Imagine maintaining her schedule and still having the grace to deliver that line. Remembering that circumstances are temporary can be the exact fuel you need to keep going. It's a literal masterclass in shifting your mindset during a crisis. But unfortunately, the hardship was far from over. This brings us to escalation and sacrifice. A secondary complication was about to hit that would severely test the outer limits of Emma's endurance. Months into this terrible financial crisis, their mother became sick. And look at how Emma adapts to this escalation. Step 1, she continues her college studies. Step 2, she maintains that brutal schedule of part-time work and evening tutoring just to keep the money coming in. And now, Step 3, she spends countless nights wide awake caring for her sick mom. Emma completely gave up her own comfort to guarantee everyone else was going to be okay. Section 4, transformation and triumph. But remember her words from earlier? Hard times don't last forever. All of that relentless dedication finally built a foundation for an incredible turning point. Let's move to and see how this builds across the timeline. We can watch the overarching narrative arc. It starts in the deep winter of the father's job loss, dipping even further into the valley of her mother's illness months later. But eventually, the breakthrough arrives, a top university scholarship. And years later, she becomes a highly successful doctor, using the exact same strength that saved her family to heal others professionally. And the ripple effect of her hard work? It was massive. This wasn't just a personal victory. It acted like a beacon of joy. It lifted that heavy blanket of hopelessness off her family. She deeply inspired her brother, and she became a true role model for everyone in her community. It just proves the incredible impact of leveraging your actions to uplift the people around you. So the crucial point is right here. When asked years later how she achieved so much, this was her answer. My family was my strength, and giving up was never an option. Emma didn't succeed in spite of the heavy burden she carried. She succeeded because of it. Familial love wasn't a weight holding her back, It was the actual engine driving her forward.
Which brings us to our final section, life's greatest blessings. Zooming out, this story distills a really beautiful, overarching moral about the life-changing, transformative power of a loving sibling's support. To her brother, Emma was a hero, and he summarized her lasting legacy into 5 core virtues: kindness, courage, determination, sacrifice, and encouragement. This is the big takeaway for us today. When you combine these traits, absolutely any dream is possible, and no crisis is too deep to overcome. Which leaves us with a final provocative thought. Who is the Emma in your life? Who held you up when things got incredibly dark? And more importantly, how can you apply Emma's courage to be that strength for someone else today? I want you to think about that as you go through your week. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.